Which is the greatest quality of knighthood? Courage, compassion, loyalty, humility?
Truth. That's it. Yes, it must be truth. Above all. When a man lies, he murders some part of the world.
T-R-U-T-H, brothers putting down this truth in a true way. Mama's crying, niggas dying, these the last days. So we coming T-R-U-T-H.
As we turn another Bible page, cowards get devoured in this war play. Not enough oxygen for those who move in gay ways. Sun rays burn away the inferior exterior. Words become superior. Once we mirror the reflection in all the all-seer. Anxiety shows the fear, which they cover with leaves of possession and aggression. But the true root of it is transgression. Too much physical affection, ignoring them spiritual lessons. Make the ages the children. True ones become pilgrims. Time reveals them. No shelter can hold this light. Those that still move by sight, supposed to fight that which they can't see. So it's free to release the handcuffs, or is it mental contentment the way to peace? You feel me?
T-R-U-T-H, brothers putting down this truth in a true way. Mama's crying, niggas dying, these the last days. So we coming T-R-U-T-H.
That's why we spit it. Truth, lit it. Truth. From the floorboards to the roof, from the street corners to the mic booth. It's all about that truth, baby. That truth, baby. Now everybody's balling, got paper cribs and gonads. Frost with the wrong Jake and that's your ass. I'm just a little Jake with the heart of Joab. Straight out of low cast, but no CB4. Arm locked to the throat, head in the yoke. Crispy coat to the boat. To lost folks living dirty with no spiritual soap. You sold dope, killed, did dope, gave false hope. Same old stories, dog, I can't cope. You biting, scribing, and writing. We know about the dark, but who's trying to enlighten? I got my mouthpiece and gloves and I'm ready for fighting. Part-time mercenary. If you pay like you weigh, you can break the scales and make my day. Shepherds gathering the strays, visionary x-rays to discern the real from the fake. Straight out the gate, moving at a stallion's pace. With faith and grace, I stand firm. You asking to earn.
T-R-U-T-H, brothers putting down this truth in a true way. Mama's crying, niggas dying, these the last days. So we coming T-R-U-T-H.
That's why we spit it. Truth, lit it. Truth. From the floorboards to the roof. From the street corners to the mic booth. It's all about that truth, baby. That truth, baby.
Unlike the trade winds that carried the slave ships, man born of the spirit that's stuck at the matrix. Sorta like the breeze, no one perceives the movement on the video effects of the smoothness. You've been touched by the gust that rushed over the pyramid. Sandstorm, a man born, instantly transformed. Christ paid the price, now I'm cashing my checks in. Blessed man is destined to be oppressed and roll through the hood with calm man and felons. Drop more seeds than melons when I be bailing. Y'all screw-faced and two-faced, the true taste. All up in your face like toothpaste or full haste. Wisdom, erection, it's so previous. Live half lives, despise and so devious. We be just spiritual miracle lyric workers. Here in the flesh, then poof, we disappear like
T-R-U-T-H, brothers putting down this truth in a true way. Mama's crying, niggas dying, these the last days. So we coming T-R-U-T-H.
That's why we spit it. Truth, lit it. Truth. From the floorboards to the roof. From the street corners to the mic booth. It's all about that. Yeah. Truth. Truth.
Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, peace, good morning, good afternoon, good day. This is your brother IQAhmath, IQAhmath first name. IQ is all the same. You've reached another episode. That's right, DSTM, don't shoot the messenger. You cannot do that. Where would you be? Where would you be without the message? Let me stop back in the pool. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. You reached it, man. Another episode. Ready to get busy in the books today. Hopefully everybody's doing well on the Shabbat. Let me salute my families in the house, man. As always, shalom to my brother Ashar, Shalak, Ranayah, the house of Bayan, Yara in the house, Kohav, there he goes. Sakar, good brother, shalom to you. Shalom to you and the family, man. Oshai in the house, shalom. Aladad, Rosemarie, any and everyone else who's going to be joining in on the live. Shalom to y'all. If you catch it on the rebound, shalom to you. Either way, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to all of the 12 tribes scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Right? Got some bad news, y'all. Bad news. You see the title of the video, man. Ceasefires have been signed. There's another one on the table for Ukraine and Russia. World War III is off, man. I apologize. My discernment and interpretation of the scriptures was off. I think I'm gonna go back to the church. Don't believe everything you read and half of what you see. You dig what I'm saying? Look, we're gonna touch into really what's going on. Really what's going on. Oh yeah, ceasefire deal has been signed between Israel and Lebanon. That's true. Yes, indeed. Zelensky is saying he's ready to sign a peace deal right now under his terms, though. Is he in a space to negotiate? Can he actually call some shots and say, "Hey, I'll sign a peace deal if you do what I say"? I think he's become a little bit vain in his panhandling throughout the world, asking and begging and telling everybody what they need to give him and what he needs and what he deserves in this war. So let's look at it. A lot of myself, Israelites, all, been going hard, man. World War III, Israel, Hezbollah, Iran, Russia. And now all of a sudden, Agent Orange comes into play. He's talking like he's the savior. He's going to bring forth peace. All of a sudden, it seems as though nations are bowing down, kissing the ring. They're flying out to Mar-a-Lago, sipping drinks and eating with them. I mean, they just had Trudeau over there in Canada. After Agent Orange said he's going to lay down tariffs on Canada, heavy tariffs, all of a sudden he's flying down to Mar-a-Lago to go have dinner and saying, hold on, let's talk. Can we talk about this? Is Agent Orange the savior? I mean, is he the one who's going to bring peace on Earth? If you believe that, I've got some land in Mars, right? Me and Elon been chopping it up. He allotted me 100 acres, and I'm letting it go dirt cheap, man. You can get up off the Earth, SpaceX. I'll cut you a deal. Everything's great. You want in? Or would you rather deal with what thus saith the Lord says? All right. Hopefully you on that page, right? My brother said, hell to the no. That's right. That's right. You see the contact information down below. After the Shabbat, be it today or tomorrow night, because we are on the back-to-back Sabbath between the new moon and the weekly Sabbath. If you feel it in your heart and you have the change to spare and you want to send your alms in, please do so. The information is below. If you want to reach out to us, questions, comments, concerns, the covenant144@gmail.com. Instagram is Messengers of the Covenant. The Cash App is $IQAhmath. And you see the PayPal down there, paypal.me/messengers144. Again, that is after the Shabbat. If you would like to support the ministry, and to water to all of you who have, past, present, and future, it's much appreciated. But there, sometimes people be asking about where our contact information, sometimes I'll be forgetting to scroll it down there. So for those who've inquired, there you go. There you go. Okay. Now that we're done with that, let me remove this up off of here. All right. Let me remove this up off of here. I do want to let me set this up real quick too, because there will be some videos played, and I want to get this out the way now. Anything that you see is going to be used under fair use. Fair use. Okay. For our commentary, for teaching purposes, and for research. All right. So let's make sure that that's understood and that's out the way. I might have to play it again before I get to the nitty gritty. Right. But let's start off with a couple of scriptures as usual. Okay, so what do we see on the day on the table right now? Yes, ceasefire deals. Agent Orange says, man, first thing he's popping in, he's gonna get rid of all the migrants and he's getting peace deals on the table come January 20th. Man, everything's active, right? And we're starting to see little frameworks of maybe him being on point. But is that what the Lord said? And is that really what's going on? That's what we're going to identify. That's what we're going to, put it down, right? Okay. Let me see. Where am I at? Okay, here we go. So, first things first, man. Israel, don't fret. I know a lot of times Israel be looking and they like, oh no, they said it was World War III. They said it's over with. We were preparing for the end times and we were waiting for Mashiach to come back and get us. And remember, before we even start there, and again, the devil's in the details, y'all. So don't look at this peace deal and then all of a sudden say, oh, damn, we're back to square one again. No, everything's going according to plan. Let's not forget what Hamashiach Yahweh told us, the Savior who the world calls Jesus Christ. Matthew 24, and we're going to read verse 6, 7, then we're going to drop down to verse 8. It says, and ye shall hear. Hold on. First of all, let's read verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? So this is to be understood in a private manner. Everybody's not going to understand. Everybody's not going to see and understand these prophecies and see exactly what the Messiah was putting forth to the disciples. So if they said privately, this was not information that the world would understand or receive. Dropping down to verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So let's pump the brakes on. It's all over with. You never heard me propose and say it's over. The war started. Deliverance is here. No, I always said these are the beginnings. I always said, you're going to hear about wars, rumors of wars. You're going to hear about peace deals. You're going to hear about these things. But the end is not yet. Verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, not the end. Okay, so let's make sure that we stay in context of understanding these prophecies and what Yahweh shall put forth. Now, let's look at this. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. So remember, although they're talking about peace deals and ceasefires, know what the scriptures say. Sudden destruction is going to come upon them. Verse 3 continuing. As travaileth upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. We're going to see, and I'm going to show y'all some videos and some articles that fulfills this to the T. Because if they're over there dancing and jigging in Lebanon and in Israel, and they all talking about, oh, the ceasefire deal's on the table, and oh, there's optimism with Ukraine and Russia possibly ending the war, and everybody thinks that they can go out there and show their teeth and tap dance in the streets. No, that's far from what's going on. Far from what's going on. When he speaketh fair, y'all know the rest. Proverbs 26:25, you know the rest. When he speaketh fair. Look at this. Isaiah 48:22. There is no peace, saith Yahweh, unto the wicked. So here we are dealing with a multiplicity of wicked nations, and the Lord's all of a sudden going to grant them peace. Remember, he's already drew the bow. The weapons of war have already been designed. They've already been assembled. They've already been put out there. All the nations have been assembling and aligning themselves on each side of the fence, preparing for war. All of a sudden, that's just going to stop, and the Lord's going to say, you know what? The wicked deserve peace. Let's go ahead on and call it a day. Whoops. I'm not ready to go ahead on and end judgment and gather my saints together. Is that what's going on? Well, the Lord said there's no peace to the wicked. So they can sign peace treaties and ceasefire deals, but the Lord said that is not going to stop his judgment. Don't get it twisted in the least bit. Let's look at Psalms 28. And let's look at verse 3. It says, "Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts." Did you hear that? The Lord said, don't get drawn away with the wicked. Don't have our, half of our people are running around here, man, want to free Palestine. They want to go out here and protest and be arm in arm with the heathen. They thinking that their cause is the same cause as our cause. No, it's not. David prayed and said, don't let me get drawn away with the wicked. Don't let me get caught up in the politics. Don't let me get out here fighting battles that's not mine. Don't let me get caught up in the protest. Just want to be part of a moment. That's what goes on nowadays, man. Everybody wants to be part of a moment. Quick to pop the phones out. Look, I'm at the BLM march. Remember that? I'm at the George Floyd march. Yeah, we're out here protesting. Just so that they can document it on their timelines and say, hey, I was there. I did something. Yeah, I'm out here marching with the Palestinians. I'm wrapping myself in their flag. Black folks been doing this. Being drawn away with the wicked, involving themselves in matters that don't concern them. David said, don't get drawn away with the wicked, man. Stop getting caught up in the moments of wanting to go viral and want to involve yourselves in matters that don't concern you. It says, and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors. Oh, let's sign this peace treaty. Let's get this peace deal going. Let's get this. But meanwhile, mischief is in their hearts. As we're going to see, much mischief is going on behind closed doors, behind these politics, behind these coups that's being assembled. A lot of madness going on behind closed doors. Jeremiah 9, verse 8. The tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaketh deceit. You see what happens with the wicked? One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in the heart he lieth his weight. Shall I not visit them for these things, saith Yahweh? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? So anytime, be it Israel, be it the nations, when we speak hypocritically, when the tongue is shot out and there's lies behind it, and you're saying it to your neighbor, and that just, the heathen sitting up there acting as if they really want peace with each other and all this other stuff. Like they don't really want peace, man. They're still looking for world domination. They're still looking for NWO. You know the acronym. I'm not going to say it because the bots tag the video and then they start putting information disclaimers on the descriptions and all of that. So you know what it is. They're still looking for world dominance as far as currencies are concerned, banking is concerned. They're still looking at dominating the medical industry about how things should be handled when there's plagues. You know what I'm talking about. They're still designing and want to have 15-minute cities. They still are trying to, behind the scenes, still plotting and planning to get those things in order. But they need the world to be in full cooperation, and they want the world to be decided upon one particular government, i.e. Babylon, leading the charge. So all these things has already been laid down. The Lord said vengeance is going to be laid out for it. Psalms 10. And let's read verse 4 down to 7. It says, the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High, because the Most High is not in all his thoughts. You think Donald Trump is really, praying to the Most High for righteous resolution? You think that he's, Zelensky is sitting back saying, we need the power of Yahweh, the God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We need his intervention in order to bring peace on the earth. You think they're really doing that? You think Elon Musk is sitting back concerned about the Most High? Come on. The pride of his countenance, man. The so-called white man, in particular, Agent Orange, he says he's going to be the one that's going to bring peace on earth. He's the chosen one. Remember that? He ain't thinking about the Most High. This is why we know that the Most High is not standing behind any of these particular deals. any of these particular treaties that's being signed or whatnot. Because they ain't thinking about the Most High. He thinks he is God. Verse 5, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. So the white man doesn't think he stands alone. He doesn't care who his enemies are as long as he controls the earth. He thinks that he's going to continuously be, and his house will continue on forever, according to Psalms 48 and 11, I believe, or might be 49 and 11. His ways are always grievous, man. The white man is constantly trying to figure out how he can maintain systematic oppression, how he can maintain his foot in his neck on every other nation. He's always running around signing false peace treaties and deals, breaking them consistently, funding particular wars, using proxy armies and rebel alliances and what do you call them? Well, for lack of better terms, man, terroristic overthrows of governments, putting in puppet leaders, establishing coups throughout the earth. His ways are always grievous. Look at America. America was established through grievousness. I mean, we didn't touch on Thanksgiving. I mean, everybody should know by now. Maybe I shouldn't even assume that. Maybe I shouldn't assume that. Maybe we should continue on tearing down these folly days. But you know, Israel, throughout our community, man, always goes hard. You're not going to find a shortage of information. I mean, we've done multiple videos in the past regarding it. But his ways are always grievous, man. Ask the Native Americans through slavery. Yeah, the Native Americans went through slavery. They've gone through colonization. They've gone through genocide, lynchings. The largest mass lynching was done under Abraham Lincoln. Over 200 plus Native Americans got lynched publicly. His way is always grievous. Death, murder, mayhem, broken peace treaties, rape, buying their way into nations. I mean, if anybody has any reservations regarding Thanksgiving and the Native American struggle, just watch that movie Under the Flower Moon. That movie alone, which is a true story. Matter of fact, how many of y'all seen that movie? Let me see if I'm putting y'all on to something or if I'm just, speaking vaguely. Was that the name of? Throw a 7 in the chat if you seen that movie. Was it Under the Flower Moon? Throw a 7 in the chat if you seen that movie. I believe that's it. Yeah, Killers. Ooh, how did I forget that word? How did I forget that? That's key. Killers of the Flower Moon. Look like it's kind of empty in the chat. Maybe y'all didn't see it. If you haven't seen it, go watch that movie. Powerful, powerful movie, man, if you really want to know. Why? Just one example of why we shouldn't have been celebrating Thanksgiving. I mean, that's one alone. Okay. If you haven't seen it, go check that one out. Verse 5, one more time of Psalms 10. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. Yeah, because he doesn't deal in righteous judgment. He doesn't deal in righteous judgment. He deals with respect their persons. This is why you see the justice system as it is, overpopulated with blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans, white folks getting slapped on the wrist, cops getting away with murder, harassment, false arrests, lies. I mean, they get caught on camera and still get away. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth them. Verse 6, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. Yeah, see, the white man thinks he's never going to be in adversity. He thinks there's never going to be an end to his rule and his reign. Nobody's going to move him from his spot. That's his imagination. That's what he believes, right? Verse 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. So everything that we're seeing that comes out of him, his regimes, his governments, his democracies, is all based upon deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. I mean, just look at, let's just look at this. Agent Orange, right? He's been stone cold going against it. You know, he's supposed to be anti-LGBTQ, HIV, and all of that, right? But he just appointed, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, the Secretary of the Treasury is a sodomite. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Trump, get out of here, man. Trump taps a sodomite man for Treasury Secretary. Okay. So this is how you know, man, he be speaking with a forked tongue, you know, because you got a lot of these right-wing MAGA hats who've been, you know, anti-LGBTQ plus HIV and rode with him on that. But meanwhile, he doubled back and said, well, I'm throwing one up in here to control the money. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated sodomite billionaire hedge fund executive Scott Bessent at U.S. Treasury Secretary. If confirmed, Bessent would lead Trump's economic team and was viewed positively by the Wall Street, according to reports. So, you know, verse 7 one more time. Let's go back. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. I mean, he's doing a whole lot with some of these pics he's throwing up in there, and some of the MAGA hats ain't too pleased with it. So already there's somewhat of a division amongst them. Already, and he ain't even been inaugurated yet. There's already a split. They're divided on, you know, some of the pics that he's done thrown up in there, right? But this is just how the white man operates. That's politics. As everyone knows the acronym of a pile of tricks, right? So when we're seeing these deals being signed and everybody's saying, oh, look, he's bringing peace on earth, the Messiah. Slow down. Because there's a lot of deceit and fraud going on. And meanwhile, we got to stick with what the scriptures say. Revelation 6:3-4 says, and when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. So there's a red horse that is designed when the seal is broken. He's going to bring destruction and warfare on the earth. He's going to take peace. He's not going to initiate peace. So these same, if we're looking at it just in the spirit, a red horse that signifies death, destruction, warfare is going to take peace from the earth. All of a sudden, the same red horse is going to be able to instill peace on the earth? Well, No. The seal has already been broken, man. That's why we see multiple wars going on throughout the earth. And who's always the one initiating it? Who's the one creating the weapons for these destructions? Who's the one breaking these particular peace treaties? You ain't got to look far. Why? Because power has been given to him to take peace from the earth and that they should kill one another. This is why you're seeing Ukraine fighting against Russia. They're the same people. This is why you're seeing civil wars going on in Syria. Same people. Right? They, you know, you're looking at North Korea, South Korea, China, Taiwan. They're going to be killing each other, and it's all based upon the precipice of America running and controlling it all. Each one has ties or a tentacle goes back to Babylon. America is involved in every conflict that we see on earth. That they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So destruction, warfare has been given unto him as a great sword. Let's look at Isaiah 54 and verse 16. What the Most High said, behold, I've created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So we know the smith, the blacksmith, the one who creates the weapons. Who's creating all of these multiple mass weapons? Who's created the Moab bomb, the mother of all bombs? Who's creating these hydrogen bombs? Who created the nuclear bomb? I mean, go look at the movie Oppenheimer. I mean, he's not hiding. You can be sick of these people, man. Be talking about white man not to do, white man don't do. Y'all stop blaming him for everything. Well, he's sitting up here telling us everything that he's doing. It coincides with what the scriptures are saying. And then when you ask people, well, who else is doing this? The devil. I mean, let's stop being broad and vague, and let's look and see who's doing these things. Who has the power to create? Come on. I mean, we got to break the Stockholm syndrome. It's unbelievable. The Most High said he's created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. So the smith is the so-called white man. He's the destroyer. He is the one who's creating these he created the term weapons of mass destruction. Who created them? And then he even lied about it with the war in Afghanistan and said that the Afghanis had weapons of mass destruction and we need to go over there and bomb the hell out of them, control the poppy fields, and have a war going on for 21 years, all to realize it was a lie. Behold, I've created a smith that bloweth the coals in the fire and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. What type of instruments is he bringing forth? ICBM missiles. Didn't we just see that one being used for the first time 2 weeks ago? Who created these instruments for his work? Who created the Satan II missile bomb? I mean, these are all creations of the so-called white man. And he said, I have created the waster to destroy. So his job, under the guise of the second seal of the red horse, taking peace from the earth, is exactly what's going on. So when we're seeing these peace deals and all the other stuff, listen, as Public Enemy had a song called Don't Believe the Hype, and that's exactly what we need to do. Don't believe the hype, to quote Public Enemy. Now let's get to it, right? So let's look at this. Israel agrees to ceasefire with Hezbollah after Benjamin Netanyahu pledges support. Peace deal to be signed after months of bitter fighting. Ironically, this comes right after he had a warrant out for international warrant out for his arrest for war crimes. All of a sudden now, let's get to a peace deal. Get up off of my back. No. Yeah, the wicked, you're still going to be drug into the court of the Most High, found guilty of deceit, fraud, murder, lying. I mean, the whole nine. So ironically, after he gets an international warrant out for his arrest, he's ready to talk peace. Imagine that. So is it sincere? Remember, we're only speaking fair, believe it or not. We're going to see why. So it says Israel Security Cabinet has approved the U.S.-led ceasefire deal to end the fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon after months of bitter clashes, and an official said tonight. The cabinet convened to vote on the decision today as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, gave his approval after weeks of back and forth. The deal aims to achieve a 60-day cessation of hostilities with the Iranian proxy group in Lebanon that could form the basis of a lasting truce. So let's get it straight. This is not a peace deal. This is just a ceasefire. This is a let's fall back for 60 days and let's regroup. This is not the end of the war. This is a 60-day pause. Let's regroup. Maybe we can talk about some more stipulations on possibly ending this thing, but right now, no, we're not stopping. We're just putting a pause on things. Let's continue. Look, Cabinet announced a ceasefire in Lebanon by a vote of 10-1. The deal passed through the war and General Cabinet before being fully approved. Let's look down here. The highlighted part. What's on the table? An Israeli official told Ma'ariv that the ceasefire was not the end of the war. Can we stop? Should we stop there? And that Israel maintained its right to respond to any threat. So remember, they're fighting in Syria. They're fighting in Gaza. They've been fighting in Yemen. This is just Lebanon, where they have a stronghold of Hezbollah, quote unquote, militants over there, right? But this is not the end of the war. Let's move on. Look, the ceasefire terms, what is it? So for these 60 days, this is what they're talking about. Israeli forces to pull out of southern Lebanon within 60 days. Hezbollah forces are to retreat to the north of the Litani River. The Lebanese army and the UN force known as UNIFIL to ensure Hezbollah pulls out. A U.S.-led enforcement committee to oversee the ceasefire. So it's not the end of the war. These are just the terms of them saying, fall back, let's regroup. A lot of blood's been shed. A lot of people are starving, been displaced. A lot of destruction has been going on in particular cities. Let's fall back and let's get this thing figured out before we get back to it. That's the long and the short of what's going on. But watch this. Ironically, this is why you got to look at the timeline. This ain't the first one. Remember last year they had a similar ceasefire, but it was only for 4 days. I think it lasted for maybe a week, 7 days, less than that. But one key thing is missing that's supposed to be surrounding around the terms of this whole peace deal. Remember the hostages? It was all really about the hostages. Did we see that as part of this ceasefire term? Are hostages being made mention anywhere in here? That should let you know that this is not going to be the end of the war, because there was no discussion of hostage releases either from the Hezbollah Palestinian side or from the Israeli side. So that lets you know one key component. Remember, in the GMO small hat armies said that they're not going to stop until all of their hostages have been returned. So that wasn't even part of this particular ceasefire drill. So there is not going to be an end to this war. Remember, again, a year ago, ironically, same time, November. Look at this. November 24th, 2023. What day did they sign this peace deal? Hold on. Let me back up real quick, Shalaki. Looks like November 26th. It went into effect on Wednesday. So today's the 30th, Friday the 29th, Thursday the 28th, Wednesday the 27th. This looks like par for the course to me, if you're asking me. It's nothing new under the sun, as the scriptures tell us. Last year they did the same thing, just 3 days earlier, but it was surrounded around hostage releases as well. We don't see that this time. A temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas-led Palestinian militant groups in the Gaza Strip took effect the 24th of November 2023 to the 30th of November 2023 during the Israel-Hamas war. The initial agreement, mediated by Qatar, stipulated a 4-day break in fighting during the 50 Israeli hostages held in Gaza and 150 Palestinian prisoners in Israel were to be released, and more humanitarian aid will be allowed to enter Gaza. Remember that last year when they got released? And the women were leaving. They was like, oh, they treated us well, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you know, the GMO small hat media would say they were being raped over there. And then we see the opposite. The Israelis was raping the men and raping the hostages over there in Palestine. Remember that? A lot of foolishness going on, remember. In their mouth is deceit and fraud. Israeli hostages were held in Gaza. 150 Palestinian prisoners in Israel were to be released, and more humanitarian aid will be allowed to enter Gaza, with the ceasefire subject to extension, providing additional hostages are released. So that was surrounded around the hostage situation. which is still going on right now. Where, and why are they not part of this particular ceasefire? Because they're getting ready to get back to war, right? That's why. Moving on. Now, if this was the case, we wouldn't be seeing headlines like this, even in Ukraine, right? Top NATO official calls on business leaders to prepare for a, quote, wartime scenario. So NATO is not standing behind a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia. They're telling all their business leaders and all their constituents within the NATO aligned countries, get ready for a wartime scenario. Top NATO military official on Monday urged businesses to be prepared for a wartime scenario and adjust their production and distribution lines accordingly in order to be less vulnerable to blackmail from countries such as Russia and China. If we can make sure that the crucial services and goods can be delivered no matter what, then that is a key part of our deterrence, the chair of NATO's military committee, Dutch Admiral Rob Bauer, said in Brussels. So remember last week I said, now, with this escalation, because slow Biden, remember he signed the deal for the long-range missiles and weapons to be used into Russia. They fired off. Putin responded basically like, look, NATO's trying to occupy this. This is World War III. I believe of recent, he said if they do it again, now we got to look at him kind of side-eyed. Because he said if they do it again, he's going to turn Kiev into dust, and he's going to unleash the ICBMs. Now he gave a warning after the first attack. Remember last week he launched that ICBM and shocked the world, and people were saying, "Oh shoot, he's serious. He's not bluffing." Now he recently just popped out again and said, "Look." First he said Agent Orange wasn't safe, hinting at, there could be further assassination attempts on his life. Then he doubled back and said, look, if you guys use them long-range missiles one more time on us, all hell's going to break loose and I'm going to turn Kiev into dust. Now, in the midst of all these particular escalations of war, last week, I remember I said, supply chains can be affected, gas, power, things that's coming through Europe that we may need over here, or if you're living in Europe, it could be shortages of goods and services because of the war, because of the lack of being able to transport goods, businesses being shut down, so forth and so on. Remember how it was with the gas when the war really started cracking off a couple years ago? Gas was out of control. And they asked Slow Biden, what's up with this? What you going to do about it? He said it's Putin's fault. So, this is where we're at. So NATO was already telling businesses, man, be prepared. Because war is on the horizon. And we're still going to make sure that crucial goods and services can be delivered. So start making preparations to make sure that Europe and places throughout the world aren't coming up deficient in things of necessity. Speaking at an event of the European Policy Center think tank, he described deterrence as going far beyond military capability alone, since all available instruments could and would be used in war. Quote, we're seeing that with the growing number of sabotage acts, and Europe has seen that with the energy supply, Bauer said. We thought we had a deal with Gazprom, but we actually had a deal with Mr. Putin. And the same goes for Chinese-owned infrastructure and goods. We actually have a deal with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. So the energy supply, oil, gas, all them things, many a nation in Europe relies on Russia for it. Remember a couple of years ago when they blew up the Nord Stream pipeline and cut off the gas supply going into Germany and other countries? They're already plotting and saying, listen, there might be a cold winter coming up. Might be seeing some high gas prices. Might be seeing some of your infrastructure or who knows? They could have rolling blackouts because of the lack of power. If things escalate, time will tell. Now, fair use. Let me pop this up real quick. Fair use, just in case anybody's wondering what's going on here. Where was I at? Slocky, y'all. Okay. Now, let's look at this. Now, notice this. It says this is what Russia's claiming. NATO to capture Ukraine to take on Putin. Russia intel says 100,000 troops are set to occupy Ukraine. Now, the 100,000 troops are saying is coming from NATO. Oh, hold on. You see, 100,000 NATO troops was going to Ukraine. So on the low, here they are acting as if they're looking for peace deals. They want to stop the war. Look, it don't matter what what's his name? Zelensky's talking about. He's a puppet of NATO. He's going to do whatever they tell him to do. NATO wants the war. They want smoke with Russia, period. And they want Russia out the way. Because that's the infighting that goes on amongst these nations. So-called white man having his prideful battles with each other. Who's going to have world dominance? Is it going to be the Eastern European regime, or is it going to be the Western European regime? Right now, the West is ruling under America. America is this final nation of Babylon that's going to be destroyed. However, there is going to be opposition that pops up. Look, just real quick, how do we know that? I didn't realize this thing was going to keep playing. Okay, let's look at this real quick. This is how we know there's going to be opposition fighting. All right. Revelation, just real quick, 17 verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these all hate the whore. Now the 10 horns is the EU. The 10 horns also represent NATO. This is a conglomerate of European nations, which all have a rulership and a dominion, right? And they all are going to hate the whore. Who's the whore? The whore is America, Babylon, right? And it says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. This is how we're going to see America involved in a global conflict. Even in Obadiah, it tells you that all the nations that were confederate with him are going to turn their back on him. This is why we're seeing these particular wars going on. I mean, this is why we're seeing the conflicts intertwining with these Edomite nations. NATO wants smoke with Russia. This is why they don't want to hear anything about no peace treaties and no signing over deals. Whatever Zelensky's talking about, they like, please. It's not going down. Obadiah verse 6 and 7. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. See, all the nations that were eating the bread, remember, all the nations lived deliciously with her. All the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. All of that. Remember that? In Revelation 18, Revelation 17, 16. Look, all the 14, all the nations that have they all deceiving them, they're going to prevail against them. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in them. So there's going to be infighting in particular with these empires fighting each other. And that's what we're seeing, right? I don't know why I couldn't see a lot of these comments, but it's lucky if I didn't respond. Lil Q, no, I haven't seen Even the Rain. I haven't seen that, but I have to check that out. Even the Rain. I'm going to write that one down. If I miss anybody else's comments, Mr. Lucky, I don't know why. Hold on one second, y'all. Let me see what's happening. Okay, hopefully it's working now. All right, so let's move back over here. This is how we know all these peace talks is all fraud. Because Russia's seeing an exact opposite. They're seeing escalations being done by America. Thanks to slow Biden, escalations is coming from the West. Let me take this off too. Point's been made. All right. Fair use.
Open the good time with Kitchen Mama. Easy storage. One press and it's done. Open cans in a new way. Perfect for gifting.
Kitchen Mama.
NATO's dirty plan. Remember, his mouth was full of deceit and fraud. Did you see that? Now, they said post the war, Germany, UK, and Romania plan to occupy and rule Ukraine. You see that? It said the West is going to do it. The spy agency said the West will do so under the pretext of peacekeepers. You see what's going on. Now they said that they plan on they want to slow down the war. It says because freezing the conflict, i.e. a quote ceasefire, would allow the West to rebuild the Ukrainian military, because the Ukrainian military is decimated. They're all jacked up now. That's why they had to push the panic button and say, well, let's use long range weapons into Russia. We got to escalate this thing. Slow Biden gave them the green light. So again, when we hear about these ceasefires, it's about regrouping, rebuilding so that they can get back to war. NATO is increasingly in favor of freezing the hostilities along the current front line as the U.S.-led military bloc and Ukraine have come to realize that they are failing to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. That's according to Russian foreign intelligence. So it says, in order for them to get it done, to solve these tasks, the West will need to essentially occupy Ukraine. Naturally, this will be done under the guise of deploying a, quote, peacekeeping contingent in the country. According to the plan, a total of 100,000 so-called peacekeepers will be deployed in Ukraine. See, this is, and this is how you know it's not beyond the realms of possibility that this is solid intel, because this is how we know how the so-called white man operates. Psalm 55, verse 20. He hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. That's how he operates. Again, go ask the Native Americans with Andrew Jackson and ask about all the multiple peace treaties that he broke against the Native Americans. Every one of them he broke, mind you, leading to stolen lands, leading to the destruction of whole town civilizations and cultures, enslavement, colonization, boarding schools, you name it. All was done based upon him saying, hey, let's be at peace. You know, meanwhile, he's over here creating agreements with, tribes that got intertribal warfare going on. So if the Blackfoot had issues with the Iroquois, he'll go and slide over here with the Iroquois and say, hey, you know what? Two is better than one. Let's take out your enemy. And then meanwhile, go stab the Iroquois in the back too. That's how he operates. That whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that comes from him. As he, promotes intertribal warfare to this day. Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom warfare jumping off. He allows all of the gang politics going on in the prison systems and whatnot. He promotes disinformation, false information regarding our nationality, our history, our connections with one another between northern and southern tribes. And then he sits back, rubbing his hands, licking his lips, saying, yes, go to war, kill each other. He's doing the same thing over there. Yeah, Ukraine, Russia, go to war, kill each other, because we're going to come and occupy your land anyway. We'll help you take them out. And then we're going to take you out. The words of his mouth smoother than butter, yet Shalakia. But war was in his heart. So all this stuff is all, propaganda. It's fraud. He knows what he's doing. As soon as his ass is up, I'm going to skip up to where we were. Right. Let's move up some. Okay, there we go. Now, of course, they're going to say, oh, this is coming from Russian intelligence. That's disinformation. They're lying. As if Western media does not lie. As if Western media would not have a cover-up plan that they're trying to execute. So there we see what's going on, right? That's just on the Ukraine front. Hey, shalom to the house of Elkanah, Allah Kabar. Shalom to you, what's happening? Yeah, that's right, Carlos, for sure. Bible prophecies coming to pass, man. That's for real. Russia accelerates advance in Ukraine's east. Russian forces are advancing in Ukraine at the fastest rate since the early days of the 2022 invasion, taking the area half the size of London over the past month, analysts and war bloggers said on Tuesday. So there's nothing been slowing down as Russia's concerned. Russia is advancing even further and faster, taking more land right? This would only give more credence to what we just got through seeing. The Western NATO is in jeopardy of losing a grip on this war. Why wouldn't they come in and say, hey, you know what? Let's slow down. Let's sign a peace deal. 100,000 troops go in there, retrain up, get more weapons. Now we're going to go ahead and go a full-blown war. And then we're going to occupy and we'll control the borders of Poland. We'll control the borders of Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. And Russia's not falling for it. Russia's like, please, you're not going to get me. Full steam ahead. Even as Agent Orange is running around talking about how he's been on the phone with Putin, he's getting a peace deal signed, behind closed doors. I can't tell. Russia's moving full steam ahead. Now, Putin said he's open to listening to what Trump's got to say, but never has he said he's going to agree to anything. Remember early off, they were saying that they was already on the phone and Putin had to come out and be like, I ain't talking to that dude. The West is lying again. Russian troops swept through swaths of Ukraine in early 2022 before being pushed back to its east and south. The 1,000-kilometer front line has been largely static for 2 years until the latest smaller scale advances that began in July. So we see Russia is accelerating. They're moving full steam ahead, right? Putin orders his gigantic Satan II nukes. I mean, he tells us who he is and how he operates, what motivates him, who's giving him his power. Revelation 13 tells us that the dragon gave power unto the fourth beast. This is where we're seeing where the so-called white man receives his power. And then he sits back and says, well, I'm going to dedicate one of my weapons of mass destruction to my master. Putin orders his gigantic Satan II nukes to be made for combat duty as soon as possible, as he plots revenge for Ukraine's use of long-range U.S. and UK missiles amid growing World War III fears. He's arming up the Satan II. Don't sound like peace to me. Look at it. Europe is totally unprepared for the level of hybrid warfare Putin is set to unleash, with energy and communication sabotage, aviation, GPS jamming, and weaponizing migrants, all tools of the Kremlin. So this is the game plan that they're saying Russia is prepared to let loose and Europe ain't ready. In other words, saying NATO is not ready because not only is he going to use the ICBM, the Satan II, he can sabotage the communication systems, block aviation jamming systems with air control traffic systems and all that other stuff. I mean, weaponizing migrants, because you know what? He's got a lot of these migrants on his team. With all the help that that he's been offering to Central and Eastern Africa, many of which have been infiltrated into Europe now. The help that he's supplied to Syria, Lebanon, Iran, he's helping a lot of these places that got migrants all over the place. Remember back in when they had the revolt over there in Niger, they was up there holding signs talking about we want Putin out with America. So-called Negroes doing this. Remember that? What I talk about? Look at this. Viva la Russia. Oh my goodness. The white man is a cold piece of work, boy. He knows what he's doing, man. Look at this. They went out with France and they love some Putin. Black folks running around doing this. That's why they're saying, look, they got a migrant army they can use to internally jack up Europe. They saying Europe ain't ready for the type of tactics he can bring to the table. So it says Europe is totally unprepared for Russia's tactics of hybrid warfare. Defense officials have warned amid mounting fear that Moscow was already sabotaging critical infrastructure on the continent in anticipation of a wider conflict. Yeah, and that's not even to make mention of the number of European countries that rely on Russian oil for their energy. He can clip that too. Western leaders have accused Russia of sabotaging vital cables in the Baltic twice within 48 hours after Biden relaxed rules on Ukraine firing long-range missiles into Russia, and amid speculation Europe may follow suit. Yeah, remember last week? The head of the UK was like, we're ready to go to war. We're ready. Meanwhile, they're on budget cuts taking away a lot of their military infrastructure. That London, UK is not ready for no damn war. They're the mouthpiece trying to incite war because they know NATO will get their back. But as far as them being prepared to individually get it cracking with Russia, that's not happening. Let's move on. U.S. Air Force bases are on alert as 60 British troops equipped with long-range anti-drone guns and GPS jammers hunt for the drone pilot flying devices over their bases. So we're seeing continued escalations going on globally. U.S. Air Force base on high alert. British troops on high alert. They're concerned with Russian drones flying over their airspace. Where is all this peace coming from? Where's all the peace talks coming from? Because a little measly ceasefire deal got signed and it's for 60 days and it ain't really going to address no real peacekeeping efforts. My prediction is they're going to get back to war come next year. And there's still going to be skirmishes and fighting going on while there's a ceasefire deal jumping on. Look at this. North Korea getting new air defenses in return for supporting Russia in the Ukraine deal. The nations are still getting their weapons of warfare together. We've seen the 10,000 troops over there in North Korea, right? Helping Russia. And in exchange, what do they get? North Korea has received Russian air defense systems in return for support of the Kremlin's war in Ukraine. South Korean officials have declared the transfer of these weapons is the latest development in the deepening military relationship between Pyongyang and Moscow, which has seen more than 10,000 North Korean troops sent to Russia in recent weeks to fight against Ukraine. According to Shin Woo-sik, top security advisor, top security advisor for South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. Good Lord. Russia has provided surface-to-air missiles and other unspecified air defense equipment. This will be used to reinforce the air defense of the North Korean capital. So you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. North Korea is still prepared to go to war with South Korea, which in turn is going to lead to war with America. Remember, what was it? Probably about a month or so from now, that North Korea blew up that bridge and blew up the pathways leading towards the connecting roads between North and South Korea, cutting off any hopes of reconciliation between them. So North Korea was using their own little strategy, man, going over there, sacrificing 10,000 troops to go fight and help Russia so they can get air defense systems so they can arm up and gear up for a possible war with South Korea or even Japan. Look, now, this is where we see the foolishness jumping off. Zelensky says, I'll give up Ukrainian territory to Russia to achieve peace. A person might read that, they might say, oh, yes, we might have peace, finally. Hold on. President says for the first time that his country could cede land temporarily. Hello? He said he'll give up the occupied lands that Russia has got back under its control. Let me be clear about it. Got back under its control. In exchange, it says for temporarily they'll let them have it in exchange for protection of a NATO umbrella. So as Ukraine is continuously begging to be a part of NATO, has just been rejected multiple times. I've shown the articles where they say that Ukraine was the most corrupt country in the world. NATO wants no parts of it, but they will be used as proxies to help them fight against Russia. They're being used. And they think that there's hopes that they're going to join NATO. Even under Agent Orange's supposed peace deal, is rumored that Agent Orange said that they couldn't apply or have any acceptance into NATO for at least 10 years. So this is a complete fallacy. NATO doesn't want Ukraine. They keep holding them at bay, saying, yeah, well, think about it. Maybe, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're listening to you. Here, sign this little fake deal real quick. We might speak. We might fast track you in there. Maybe. No guarantees. Okay, fall back. Then Ukraine says, hey, they gave us a maybe. We might be able to get up in there. Meanwhile, ain't nobody letting them up in NATO. NATO don't want them. America's not allowing it. But Zelensky thinks that he can go out there, since he's been able to get hundreds of billions of dollars for this war, weapons and the whole nine. He thinks he can call a shot and say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to secede temporarily part of our lands to Russia. Let them have it. But we need to get fast track into NATO ASAP. We need under this umbrella. Knowing that that's just not going to happen. So the headline is deceiving, saying, oh, Zelensky is ready for a peace talks. Yet under his terms, which is not achievable. Zelensky said on Friday night that he was willing to cede territory to Russia to end the war for the first time. The Ukrainian president said his country could give up land temporarily in exchange for a NATO umbrella over the territory Ukraine still holds. Now, how does that benefit Russia? Russia said from off the rip, this is the reason why this war is even in place right now, is because Ukraine was not supposed to allow NATO forces, NATO intelligence, anything anywhere near the Russian borders, and Ukraine did that. They broke their own agreement. So this is one of the reasons why the war has even started off. NATO got too close. Ukraine opening up its doors, breaking its own agreements, letting Ukraine come in. Let NATO come in, thinking that that was going to gain favor with NATO in order for them to join. Russia couldn't Russia wasn't playing around and said, you know what, you broke the agreement. You let our enemies closer to than we were willing to accept. We're bombing first. We're not even going to allow any folly to jump off. So one of the agreements that Russia's saying is you cannot join NATO at all. Here he is saying, we'll temporarily let you have the lands that you got back if we can join NATO right away. There's no temporary joining NATO. So how you're giving up lands temporarily benefiting Russia? What world is this cat living in, man? He thinks he's got that type of negotiating power? We'll let you hold on to the land temporarily while we get full-fledged broken in and put on to NATO. We're getting everything we want. You're getting temporarily what you want. That's going to work? Come on, man. Continuing on, it says he added that after a ceasefire was agreed, Kiev could diplomatically negotiate the return of the territory in the east that is currently under Russian control. If we want to stop the hot stage of the war, we should take under the NATO umbrella the territory of Ukraine that we have under our control, Zelensky said in an interview with Sky News. That's what we need to do fast. And then Ukraine can come back to the other part of its territory diplomatically. That's a joke. That ain't happening. Let's move on. Now, here's something else. When we're looking at that particular ceasefire deal, now watch this. The ceasefire deal that jumps off right now between Lebanon and Israel is a smokescreen. Because the civil war that's been jumping off in Turkey and Syria, this is all, both sides are being backed by Israel, and the U.S. is the one that's funding these rebels and helping them with their cause. And then you've got Iran, Russia, and I believe China helping the Turkish president, Assad, maintain his control. Right now, Assad controls 70%, 30% is controlled by the opposition. Now, just this week, you know what? Let me let it play. Fair use.
Meet the Ninja Turtles in Hero Wars. The legendary RPG Hero Wars welcomes new.
For the first time in 8 years, rebel forces have entered Aleppo, Syria's second largest city, seizing a major road and targeting government offices with car bombs. In a country still torn by civil war, the surprise offensive was celebrated in nearby Idlib, a rebel stronghold. The joy is indescribable, this resident said. God willing, Aleppo is just the beginning. Another resident called the Syrian government the oppressor, adding that their celebration is for all of Syria. The country has been at war since President Bashar al-Assad cracked down on protests during the Arab Spring. What followed was years of brutal fighting between insurgent groups and forces loyal to Assad, backed by Russia and Iran.
Now, you heard that. Syria being an ally of Russia, right? They're in support of Assad being the president and ruler over Syria. Now, you've got rebel factions who don't want him ruling. They say he's the oppressor, right? Now, anytime that there is a rebellion / coup, you always got to look to America and say, are they funding this? Because America is involved in regime changes all over the world, all the time. The alphabet agencies, CIA, FBI, intelligence agencies, America is always involved in a regime change. Look, Osama bin Laden, the Mujahideen, they helped fund and fight them to fight against Russia back in the 80s. You got even what's her name, man? Hillary Clinton admitting to this. They got no problem funding jihadists, Islamist extremists. On our end, they'll be talking about these guys are terrible, wicked, they're beheading people and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they're funding them to help take over nations that they don't agree with, don't like, and don't have issues with. So America and Israel are in the midst of funding and fighting these rebel forces to try to have a regime change in Syria. Russia, Iran, Syria are fighting off these rebel forces. Ironically,
but this is the largest.
It's been 8 years since they've had any progression, any military uprisings of significance. Ironically, the same week that a quote ceasefire deal is done between Lebanon and Israel, the same forces behind Hezbollah, Iran, same forces behind Israel that's funding these rebels. There's another war that they're all involved with by proxy. You understand? So when they call for a ceasefire, remember I said they're just trying to regroup with their own particular war, and so they can focus in on this other war that they've been funding and dealing with. Ironically, a surprise attack. They take over one of the prize cities of Syria in Aleppo. This is a big city where they deal with a lot of different merchant exchange. Money flows through there. One of the biggest cities that they got. All of a sudden, these rebels come up with a surprise attack, escalating the war, just like America did with the long-range missiles being allowed for Ukraine, escalating the war. So on the back end, they're saying here we're having peace, but then sudden destruction happens. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. That's why we read that first. You see where this is going? They're fronting like we want peace, but meanwhile they're bubbling up, funding and getting other wars cracking.
offensive since 2020.
When there's a confrontation, it's going to be in urban centers right now, in highly populated urban centers. So there's going to be a lot of civilian fatalities, unfortunately.
The UN has expressed alarm over the unfolding situation, reporting that the recent attacks have claimed at least 27 civilians, including children.
There's millions living in Aleppo, so it is a highly urban center.
Leading the rebel forces that entered Aleppo, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, a jihadist Islamist group who may be capitalizing.
Did you hear that? An Islamic jihadist group is the ones that are leading this rebellion. Keep that in mind. Islamic jihadist group is leading this. Keep that in mind.
On the fact that Assad's ally, Iran, is preoccupied with other conflicts.
Rebel groups like the HTS, they see this as an ideal time with Hezbollah and Iranian-backed militias are weakened.
This offensive has been underway since the Hezbollah ceasefire deal came into effect. Russia's military has now stepped in, its air force bombing rebel forces, according to Russia's state-run media. Another escalation in a war that's already claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and displaced millions more. Chris Ray.
So, you seen there, they said they took advantage of the Hezbollah peace deal. Russia have already came in response with some bombs. So there is no there's no peace deals that's going on, man. I mean, the white man be lying his $8 off. Hold on. Let me share this with y'all. Let me see something. Okay, look at this real quick. What to know about the sudden rebel gains in Syria's 13-year war and why it matters. Remember, they said that these were Islamic jihadists that were leading this rebellion. Now, let's look at this real quick. The 13-year civil war in Syria has roared back into prominence with a surprise rebel offensive on Aleppo, one of Syria's largest cities and an ancient business hub. The push is among the rebels' strongest in years in a war whose destabilizing effects have rippled far beyond the country's borders. It was the first opposition attack in Aleppo since 2016. So they haven't done nothing in 8 years. First opposition attack, just on the heels of, ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon. Isn't that great? Okay, watch this. When a brutal air campaign by Russian warplanes helped Syrian President Bashar Assad retake the northwestern city, intervention by Russia, Iran, and Iran-allied Hezbollah and other groups has allowed Assad to remain in power. So we hear all of these same names. Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, and other groups are helping Syria remain in control, with 70% of Syria under his control. The surge in fighting has raised the prospect of another violent front reopening in the Middle East. So while they're talking about, peace deal, ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon, this has escalated of the prospect of another violent reopening in the Middle East. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction happens. Hello. At a time when the U.S.-backed Israel is fighting Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, both Iranian ally groups. Now look at this. The roughly 30%, let's read right here. The roughly 30% of the country not under Assad is controlled by a range of opposition forces and foreign troops. The U.S. has about 900 troops in northeast Syria, far from Aleppo, to guard against a resurgence by the Islamic State. Both the U.S. and Israel conduct occasional strikes in Syria against governmental forces and Iran-allied militias. Can I read that again? Both U.S. and Israel conduct occasional strikes in Syria against government forces and Iran-allied militias. Now, if they just said that these rebels that both the U.S. and Israel are helping by conducting occasional strikes in Syria and all of that, they said that these were Islamic jihadists. I thought Israel had a problem with these Islamic jihadists. I thought America had a problem with, huh? I thought the war on terror, America was leading the charge. They don't deal with Islamic extremism. Oh, except when it comes to them helping them overthrow Syria, who America has got an issue with, who the fake, the GMO small has got problems with. So when it comes down to necessity and need, we know, according to what is it, Sirach 13? Verse 6. If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair and say, what wantest thou? If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee. Oh, Islamic jihad is no big deal. We understand. Praise be Allah. We're going to bomb and help you. And then we're going to put in our own little puppet government. See how that works? This is why you know that this ceasefire deal and whatever else is going on is all bogus. Because at the end all be all, these cats is working double time on escalating wars globally. The same parties are involved in this particular conflict that they just kicked in the same week that they said that we got a ceasefire deal because we want peace. No, they just want to reconcentrate their efforts on another war that they're involved in. Russia's involved in this. Syria's involved in this. Iran's involved in this. Israel's involved in this. The U.S. is involved in this. Same ones who's running around portraying themselves as peacekeepers, peacemakers, and the ones who want to stop all these wars on the earth, they're still accelerating them. Don't believe the hype. This is why they're regrouping. They're just getting ready to get things busting down again in 60 days or less, because they got other efforts that they're trying to control over here. This is why when you see Ukraine talking about, Zelensky talking about, I'm ready to sign a peace deal if I can get fast track into NATO, he knows damn well that's not happening. Russia says, you know what, please, we're going to start making our advances and taking even more territory. Y'all are bombing us with long-range missiles. Do it again. I'm turning you to dust. Matter of fact, I didn't get that article, but I'm going to show you real quick. So we see who's behind this rebel alliance fighting over here in Syria. What side is, who's backing what side? So again, regime changes and puppet master governments coming behind. The Israelis in America is backing up these rebels, man, who we just got to hearing again are Islamic jihadists because they want control of Syria. Period. Let's see here. Let's look at this. See, Trump's cabinet. Well, hold on. Where did this come from? That's not even the article. Back up. World War III fears as Vladimir Putin vows to turn Ukraine to dust with super missile as hot as the sun. This is 1 day ago. Okay, so where is the peace talks coming from? Please. Vladimir Putin has ominously warned that Ukraine could be decimated by new missiles with heat generation nearing the sun's surface temperatures. The Russian president has announced plans to use the advanced Oreshnik missiles to turn parts of Ukraine to dust, boasting of explosions comparable to nuclear weapons. I mean, when the Lord said that the earth is going to be burnt with fervent heat, I mean, that's what we're talking about here. In I believe it's 2 Peter chapter 3. That's what we're talking about. All right. White man's out here lying, man, trying to tell everybody, we want peace. No, you don't. Look at this. America on the brink. FEMA issues nuclear survival guide amid escalating global tensions. I thought we're on the brink of peace. Agent Orange is getting ready to, make everybody happy again and make America great again. And, STEMI checks is in the mail. Huh? I can't tell. FEMA is issuing nuclear survival guides amid escalating global tensions. U.S. government and FEMA is telling everybody get prepared. Don't listen to me. Since our people love Esau and the damn government so damn much and running out the vote, hey, go and believe him. Since you wanted turkey and stuffing and whatever else come with it, gravy and spice ham and everything. You love his holidays and everything. Go ahead on. Believe him. Look at this. In light of escalating global tensions and the imminent threat of nuclear conflict, the U.S. government, through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is taking the divisive action to provide essential survival information to its citizens. FEMA, a trusted source, that's debatable. Trusted source of emergency preparedness, had issued a comprehensive guide that clearly outlines the necessary steps to take during a nuclear explosion. It's critical that everyone understands these measures and is prepared to act swiftly in such a scenario. This is part of the deception because Esau, puts out this information as if you can survive a nuke. If you get hit, if the inner city gets hit with a nuke, man, the epicenter, the blast explosion might reach maybe 2-3 miles. Everything gets incinerated. Another 10 miles out, you get burned, severe burns, and nuclear radiation poisoning. The landmass itself will be uninhabitable for hundreds of years, but they act like they can give you a quick little guide to tell you you'll be able to survive. That white man's got bunker busting bombs. There's no underground escape you can get to. Well, I got a year's worth of food. I'm 15 feet underground. I got my gas mask on. I got my ham radio. And the Lord said, man, America's gonna be destroyed via violence. It'll be a perpetual smoking and all that. There ain't a damn guide that FEMA can give you to say, hey, you'll make it out. You'll be good. And let's get it clear. The whole earth is not going to be destroyed. Remember, the earth was made for our sakes, according to 2nd Ezra 7th chapter. This is our inheritance. It's not going to be destroyed, but areas of this place is going to be destroyed and uninhabitable, one of which will be America. Right? But FEMA saying, hey, don't fret. We got a survival guide for you. But it just goes to show you that they're even aware of and knowing what's coming. And it's not Santa Claus. And he's not coming down your chimney. He doesn't know if you're naughty or nice. The Lord's got something completely different plan for this place. FEMA's guidance emphasizes 3 critical steps. Get inside, stay inside, and stay tuned. That's going to save you. Get inside, stay inside. I mean, when everything is being turned to nuclear ash around you, when the whole bodies are getting incinerated. I mean, have y'all seen that scene in Terminator 2? Where Sarah Connor's having her dream? I would play it, but, I don't know where the fair use situation goes on with that, even though it's on YouTube. And everything gets incinerated. The kids is playing in the park. Bomb hits, flames come, bodies are just turning into complete dust and ash, and she's screaming at the gate saying, "Get out, get out." Y'all remember that scene? They're saying get inside, stay inside, and stay tuned. Citizens are encouraged to seek immediate shelter in a sturdy building, ideal in a basement or a central room away from windows to reduce exposure to harmful radiation. Remaining indoors or at least 24 hours is essential unless authorities provide different instructions. So this is probably good if you live in Oakland and a bomb hits in LA. Yeah, you get in the basement, get away from the windows. I mean, you know, maybe if you're in Bakersfield, 3 hours outside of LA, you might be able to be okay for a little bit. But they're acting as if, you know, you're at the epicenter of a bomb. Hold on. Damn, I want to play it, but I ain't gonna risk it. Because the visual is something else, man. The visual really brings it to another level. See, I'm tempted. If y'all remember this, I'm just gonna show this. This is her. She was dreaming, and the nuke hit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Terminator 2 Judgment Scene. I'm not gonna play it, but you want to know where to look, what I'm talking about? Go look at that. All right. And 9 seconds. I don't think they can give me for 9 seconds. Fair use. They say you can get them. They say go hide, get in the house, stay tuned. You survived that. Good Lord. Esau is funny, man. That's why he figures his house gonna, you know, he's gonna live forever and he can rule forever, and he's got a rude awakening coming, right? But the fact of the matter is they're speaking in terms of apocalyptic judgment happening on this place, and you know, our people are just too concerned about you know, holiday sales and getting their trees and whatever else, and lying to the kids about Santa coming and eating up the cookies, and completely distraught with foolishness. Look at this. U.S. is drawing up contingency plans for Taiwan emergency. Kyoto. The U.S. is drawing up contingency plans for military deployments in Japan and the Philippines in case of an emergency over Taiwan. Japan's Kyoto News Agency reported. So we've known for a while now, China says that they're going to go to war by 2027 with Taiwan if they don't give up and return back to the one China policy. They want Taiwan back in the fold under China. America stood behind and said, well, while we do agree that there should, you know, the one China policy is legitimate, but Taiwan is our boys and we're getting a lot of imports from them, and you know, we're going to have to stand behind them, and we're going to help draft up contingency plans, because guess what, if war cracks, Japan's going to get involved, the Philippines going to get involved, all allies of America, Taiwan's going to have to get cracking. So all of the stages of war are still being expanded. They'll be incorporated in the first joint operation plan to be formulated in December. Kyoto reported on late Sunday, November 24th, citing sources familiar with Japan and U.S. relations. A U.S. Marine regiment, which possesses the multiple launch HIMARS, or high mobility artillery rocket system, could be deployed along Japan's Nansei Island chain stretching from Kyushu to Yonaguni near Taiwan. So we see that the U.S. is prepping Japan, the Philippines, and Taiwan for war. If you don't listen to us, again, listen to the headlines of your oppressors, man. Trump's America reminds us of Rome and the decline. How many times have we talked about America is modern day Rome? America's going to fall like Rome. America's got the same stipulations of inscripted downfall that ancient Rome did, from the inflation, from the migrant populations, from the expanded wars to economic decline, to governmental division. I mean, you name it. And now mainstream media is starting to get hip to it, saying, yeah, America is like Rome in decline. I think America might fall. See, for Rome, read America pre 9/11, so full of promise. 2 decades later, the tagline of Gladiator 2 has become Rome must fall because it was rotten from conception and gagging for a sacking. The villains are two emperors who fight endless wars against blended barbarians and distract the deplorable plebs with violent sports. Their faces are painted to disguise syphilis the way Trump's is to hide old age, in a scene where one appoints his monkey as a console touches a nerve. As they talking more about the, part of the parallels of the movie, but this is more towards echoing sentiment that the Bible has been talking about for centuries, along with the Israelites who've also acknowledged that America is the second coming of Rome, the birth child of Rome, and will experience a fall just as Rome did. So now we're even getting into mainstream headlines. I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet. I do plan on seeing it. If you've seen it, throw it in the chat, man. Let me know if it's worth seeing. If it's worth the damn near $20 a ticket now for viewing at the theater. Somebody help me out before I commit myself to spending some bread on this thing. If it's good, let me know. If you haven't seen it yet, no problem. I'll check it out when I get opportunity. Let's move on. Now look at this. This is how you know, man. You seen the women shaving their hair, the 4B movement, or the swearing off, having sex, procreating, getting into marriages. You seen these maniac Edomites, man, killing themselves and their families after this election. I mean, Kamala Harris had a legion of mentally ill zombies that were following her, and that would have let you know, man, this place would have been completely turned out with maniacs running in these streets, man. And you got these soft Pillsbury doughboy men running around getting vasectomies after the Donald Trump election went. So not only are they joining the movement of the women who, have vowed to swear off sex and everything else because they can't get abortions, or they think they can't get abortions, because they can't commit murder. Now you've got men willing to run and go give vasectomy saying, we're in support of you. I'm going to cut off seed. I mean, most of us know these laws, but let's go there just in case for those who don't know. Deuteronomy 23. 23:1. It says, he that is wounded in the stones or have his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. So a penalty, if a man was unable to procreate, or a man got wounded in the stone, say he went to war and his means of procreation cut off his seed line to where he was unable to procreate anymore. He got wounded. And his nutsack, whatever, his sperm. Or had your rod cut off. So you went in and voluntarily said, I'm going to, my name used to be Tyrone, now it's Taisha. And I'm going all in. I'm getting the full operation done. You're not coming in the congregation of Yahweh, and you're not making it to the kingdom of heaven if you go out there chopping your member off. Purposefully doing these things, the Lord said, no, you can't come around. You wounded in the stone. Essentially, getting a vasectomy is wounding yourself in the stones, man. You are unable to procreate semen to bring forth seed again. I mean, wasn't that one of the first commandments? Be fruitful and multiply. And now you've got these goofy, effeminate jakes running around. I don't know if they're jakes or not, but I believe there probably is some Israelite men involved in this movement getting vasectomies because Donald Trump. I mean, how are you castrating yourself basically because you're so in-depthly involved with a damn election? That's not it, though. Look at this. Women are getting sterilized after Donald Trump's victory as a, quote, only option. This is how you know these people are sick in the head. They said that because Trump won this victory, the only thing they can do is get sterilized now because they want to go out there and fornicate, commit adultery. They want to go out there and be promiscuous. They don't want to settle down and have committed relationships. It's not all about somebody getting raped and having incestual relationships in your families and all that. I mean, come on. If you look at the statistics, the rate of women as getting abortions because they were raped or because of incest, those numbers are extremely low. But that's always the fallback argument. Well, what if? What if? Let's stop talking what ifs and let's talk reality. You want to go out there and do what you want to do. Remember, they were stockpiling on more morning after pills, abortion pills, and with hormone pills. So now they're out here acting as there's one extreme to the next. But look at this. Last week, a 39-year-old from Washington State who did not want to be named underwent a bilateral splingectomy in which her fallopian tubes were removed. First of all, you're already high risk at carrying out a full-term pregnancy at 39, especially if she's a white woman. So she's acting as if she's super fertile and she can go at 39. Any doctor would tell you after you're in your early 30s, the risk of being able to carry out full-term labor it increases the older you get. So at 39, she decides to get her fallopian tubes removed so she won't be able to have seed and blames it on Donald Trump. Maybe she could have some other, medical issues going on. She could have, been taking that advice and been hearing about it for years, but decides to blame it on Trump that she got to get her tubes removed. I mean, stop the madness. She says, I'm not happy that I felt forced into a surgery. Who forced you? I did not want to alter my body. I feel like the election tied my hands and forced me to be sterilized. That is horrible, she told Newsweek. This is a 39-year-old anonymous woman, mind you. Who even knows if this is true? This could be Newsweek propaganda throwing this out there. I mean, who the hell says she was forced into getting, who put the gun to her head? Who told her that? Okay, let's continue on. It says the issue of abortion and reproductive rights was a major one in this year's election. Trump, who took credit for the Supreme Court's overturning Roe versus Wade in 2022, removing the constitutional right to an abortion in the country, Salaka has repeatedly said that his position is to let the states decide their own abortion laws. So whatever state you're in, the state will decide whether or not they're going to uphold abortion bans or not. If you're so desirous to want to have abortions and kill your babies and all that other stuff, man, move to a state that'll allow you to do it. Where is the forcing at? So if he says, look, I'm anti-abortion, but guess what? I'm not going to create a federal law that says abortion is illegal in all 50 states. I'm saying I don't agree with it. The Supreme Court's overturned Roe versus Wade, saying it's your constitutional right to kill a baby. But I'll leave it to the court. I'll leave it to the states to say whether or not you can do it. If you're in a state that allows it, you ain't got nothing to worry about. If you're in a state that doesn't allow it, then maybe you might want to consider moving if you want to go out there and live that type of lifestyle. The majority of these abortions that's going down is because of bad decisions, unwisely laying with somebody that you have no business. That, in other words, you're not prepared to have a future with. And you want to be able to say, well, hey, let's go on and kill this one off and be careful next time. Now it says he has also said he would veto a national abortion ban, writing on Truth Social in October. I would not support a federal abortion ban under any circumstances and would, in fact, veto it because it is up to the states to decide based on the will of their voters, the will of the people. So, by all intents and purposes, he's saying, I'm leaving it to the states. There'll never be a federal abortion ban, which is what they're running around here trying to propagandize and throw the fear on everybody. Now, let's be clear. As Israelites, law-abiding Torah keepers, abortion is against the laws of the Most High God. That is murder. You are not to do that. The Lord even gave provisions regarding if a woman that was pregnant, she got too close to two men striving and she lost her baby because, she got hit. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Judgment fell upon the man that made her lose her seed. That's how much the Most High cares for that baby that's in that womb. And it didn't say how many weeks she was before that happened or whatever the case may be. If anything thwarted her from being able to procreate and bring forth another Israelite soul back into the earth, judgment had to happen. America says, the hell with that. We don't give a damn. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, 8 months. You can get rid of them. Oh, what if a woman is about to die? And say, listen, that's a judgment for her and her husband to make in regards to the faith of her being able to sustain herself. All these what if scenarios that jump off, man, is all ridiculous. America loves to be stand behind ancient forms of child sacrifice from Molech on, and they carry out the traditions of its heathen predecessors and pagan, pagan customs that they have adopted. So now men are out here getting vasectomies, women are running around getting sterilized, blaming Agent Orange, man. I mean, this place is going completely mad. Completely mad. Oh man, they took him off. Y'all seen I was about to talk about him. They took the video down. I don't know what happened, but I was gonna talk about the high priest of Babylon. One of the high priests of Babylon. Did y'all see him? Poor TD Fakes had a medical episode in the midst of his sermon last Sunday. We don't know what happened to him. They thought it was a stroke. He's came out and said it wasn't a stroke, but he's had a undisclosed medical issue. What it was, we don't know. Look at it. It was just once. Yeah. Now he also has a suit that had been filed against him. Hold on. Let's look at this one here. TD Jakes addressed his health scare, but now he's fighting a dark, possibly shady allegations. So I don't know if y'all seen the video, but TD Jakes was in the midst of a sermon, and he suddenly went limp. They had to rush him. They thought he maybe had a stroke. They came back and just said it's an undisclosed, physical issue that happened. They haven't said what it is. But then meanwhile, for his followers, I'm sure they'll say hallelujah. It's all good. TD Jakes is in stable condition. The famous bishop suffered a medical emergency during a sermon on Sunday, all of which was caught on camera for the world to see. While Jakes is reportedly physically recuperating after the incident on Sunday, he also faces legal woes as he just filed a defamation lawsuit against Dwayne Youngblood, a fellow pastor. Jake's attorney did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Youngblood, 57, made the explosive claim on the podcast that Jakes attempted to sexually assault him when he was just 18 or 19. He claimed that the bishop tried to, quote, groom and, quote, kiss him. Then Youngblood, with his attorney, demanded $6 million from the bishop in order to resolve this matter quickly and privately, according to the New York Post. Now it seems Jakes is fighting back legally. So he's got allegations of sexual grooming of a man. He's got allegations that he was hanging out at the baby oil. Did he freak off? We don't know. I'm not gonna say, but this is what's on the table right now. Could he have, been suffering under stress and distress and caused him to, have this little medical emergency and collapse in front of his congregants? Not only him, but what's his name? Another one, another pastor. Look at it. Legendary gospel artist Marvin Winans is okay after fainting during a church service. I mean, these pastors, man, look at it. I'm not, obviously, they ain't got the video showing, but these renowned preachers, man, they out here collapsing and having these medical emergencies right before their congregants. It's not looking good right now. Something, or for some reason, the Most High is bringing forth public judgment on these men. Could it be for correction? Could it be that they're actually doing dirt? We know doctrinally they're definitely teaching lies. But what else are they doing behind closed doors, man? I mean, this is why, as long as you're teaching that the laws are done away with and you can go out there and live lives of grace and mercy, as long as you, believe in Jesus Christ and as your personal Lord and Savior, you can do what you want to do. The examples are being shown right before us, right? So yeah, they must have took that video down of him, but nonetheless, man, the Most High is making examples of these preachers, and Lord willing, man, they rectify their wrongs and they repent and start teaching the truth to their congregations. There's not a shortage of them being exposed to the truth. All of them heard about the Israelites. All of them know about the doctrine in regards to having the faith in Christ and keeping the commandments is going to be the keys to our salvation along with our works. They're teaching doctrines that's strange to our ancestors. And Most High is tapping them on the shoulder. So, maybe they get their act together. If not, don't be surprised if we see more examples being made publicly. You remember even the heathen pastors, man. Remember Joel Osteen had the shooting in his church. Creflo, Cash Flow Dollar. He been on the low, but he had some scandals going on with him too. And you remember, even if we're talking about these allegations with TD Fakes, he was standing up in solidarity with Eddie Long before he passed away a few years ago. I remember Eddie Long got accused of sexually grooming and laying with some of his young teenage congregants before he got cut off out of the land of the living. So, it's par for the course, man. Look at this. Moving on. Trump's mass deportation plan could keep food off Americans' plates, the farming industry warns. So they're showing how America, and in particular the farming industry, uses many undocumented migrants. And if you get rid of that, cheap labor, farmers are saying, guess what? It might become up short on this food because we've been using these cats, and that's part of the curses. The scriptures say, man, you're gonna take my child in the field and not receive the reward. I don't want to butcher it. Hold on, Deuteronomy 28, and which verse is that? Verse 33. It says, the fruit of thy land and all thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. See, that's that's essentially what's going on. The fruits of the land, all the labors is going to be going down. all these migrants, they ain't gonna be able to. They're not being prospering based upon those things. It's constantly going to be oppressed, right? Let's look at this article real quick. So the farmers are concerned that there could be a food shortage coming up because they're not going to have the laborers to help build up and develop these farms and the agriculture. Look at it. Farm groups in the United States are warning President-elect Donald Trump that his mass deportation plan could upend the food supply, with nearly half of the farm workers lacking legal status. U.S. farm sectors urging Trump to exempt agricultural workers from his mass deportation plan because the industry is dependent on the labor of undocumented migrants, Reuters reported. Trump's mass deportation plan could slash the U.S. GDP by up to 6.8%. Nearly half of the nation's 2 million farm workers are undocumented migrants. And many others in sectors like meatpacking and dairy also lack legal status, according to the Department of Labor and Agriculture. Farmers told Reuters that these individuals play a critical role in their industry, essentially filling jobs that many American workers are unwilling to do. So prepare for the onslaught. The farmers, meatpacking, dairy, agriculture, all being upheld by undocumented migrants, all on the backs of the slaves. And now you're saying get rid of them. Well, who's going to take those jobs? And we're talking in the immediate, because he's talking like day one, sweeps is coming. And they know where to find them because the Department of Labor and Agriculture already has it documented. 1 million of them are at work. So they know where to find them. It's going to be interesting coming up next year, y'all, and beyond. Look at this. Mexico's president hits back at Trump threat with fiery letter, blames the U.S. for arming criminals. So, Trump done already said he's going to lay down heavy tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and the president of Mexico, the GMO small hat, Claudia Sheinbaum, doesn't sound like a Spanish last name to me. Y'all know her background. We covered that. But she's not backing down. She's woofing back at Trump, right? Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum pulled no punches on Tuesday when she sent her reply to President-elect Donald Trump threat of sweeping 25% tariff on her country unless she stops illegal immigration and drug trafficking into the U.S. Now watch what she said. She also said that Trump's plan doesn't actually address illegal immigration or drug trafficking, and that Mexico would retaliate with tariffs of its own. One tariff would be followed by another in response, and so on until we put it at risk of common businesses, she said, warning the outcome would cause inflation and unemployment in the U.S. and Mexico. Well, that's one thing that they do say, that the tariffs can affect inflation, because when you tax in the goods and services, it's coming from multiple nations via China, Taiwan, Mexico, Canada, wherever. They got to pay higher taxes to do business with America. But guess what? Everybody that needs that, they're going to get taxed to cover the cost, which means it's going to double back on the consumer. Prices got to go up to cover these particular costs. Now, the government is going to be making more money. But these 25% tariff taxes over here, over there, and everywhere, that ain't going to result to you getting some money or me getting some money. America's going to give their pockets fatter. Esau going to give their pockets fatter. These global corporations, they're going to get their pockets fatter that is doing business with them. But us, no. But look at this. She says, quote, 70% of the illegal weapons seized from criminals in Mexico come from your country. We do not produce these weapons, nor do we consume synthetic drugs. Tragically, it is our country that lives are lost to the violence resulting from meeting the drug demand in yours. So she's saying, look, we're not doing fentanyl and heroin and everything else over here. But she's obviously, can't be naive to the fact that they funneling through there. But the biggest consumers of the drugs is America. Operation Fast and Furious with Obama is clearly documented that America was funneling weapons to drug cartels in order to quote unquote trace them so that they can find the cartels as where the where the guns is ending up at. But that doesn't stop the war. I mean, there was, I remember, I can't remember if I did show it or not, but there was a couple articles where weapons that was supposed to be going to Ukraine was getting into the hands of cartel members. They had pictures, man. Northern Kingdom captain, he had an RPG on his shoulder. They was like, that was supposed to go to Ukraine. How the hell they get it? Remember that? Before I lose that one. Look at that, real quick. Ukraine weapons found in Mexico. Video of Mexican cartels using Ukraine-sourced javelin launchers. So she knows what she's talking about and cutting America on their own hypocrisy. But we'll see if that's enough. Look, local sheriffs are gearing up to help Trump carry out mass deportations. So we're getting closer into that 2 Ezra 15 regarding the man desiring to go into a city and not be able. The good old boys, look at he's at the damn gun store with the handlebar mustache and the damn cowboy hat, Boss Hogg, saying this is Ohio Sheriff Richard Jones. Quote, we're going to do our part to help get these people out of here that shouldn't be here. So, they're going to be forced. They ain't looking at Moab and the Chinese being the biggest migrants over here. They ain't talking about the Middle Easterns. They ain't talking about the Ukrainians. They ain't talking about, they want them Haitians up out of here, and they want them Northern Kingdom, 10 tribes up out of here, right? And the good old boys is ready to go. Local sheriffs, they gearing up, ready to help Trump. Trump is already talking about, he might have to use some of the National Guard to do these sweeps. So they getting ready to turn it up. If President-elect Donald Trump ramps up deportations as promised, he will have a strong ally in Chuck Jenkins, the longtime Republican sheriff in Maryland's Frederick County. I'm willing to support the president 100%, said Jenkins, 68, gravel voice with a gray buzz cut. I want to do more within the law. So, Esau is ready to go to war and get rid of the Northern Kingdom. And another war he's getting ready to start. It said the plan to set U.S. special forces on Mexican drug cartels and why experts say it won't work. Agent Orange said that he's getting ready to set special forces on the drug cartels and go to war with them. And I've been saying this for years on end. As we talk about wars and rumors of wars, nobody ever brings up the drug wars. From 2006 to 2016, I think they said 60,000 people had died over the drug wars. That's just then. We ain't talking about, going back to Pablo Escobar and all these other drug cartels, Sinaloa and all. There's been wars jumping off south of the border for years on end, and America's been involved in them. Nicaragua, you name it, right? And here we're seeing now the Trump saying he wants to go to war with the cartels, and he's going to use special forces to get it cracking. So another war is getting ready to take place. Donald Trump and his newly appointed border czar intend to send special forces soldiers to eliminate Mexican drug cartels, but defense experts are warning they could be outmatched. Deploying U.S. troops to tackle the gangs is not a new idea in the circles of hardline Republicans. So this is where you get Rome and the barbarians, and Rome being overthrown with the influx of quote unquote migrant barbarians coming in. The drug cartels is operating in the same fashion, right? Now they're saying America might be outmatched. Deploying U.S. troops to tackle the gangs is not a new idea in the circles of hardline Republicans. Tom Homan, the man tapped by Trump to lead his border closures, recently told Fox News the president-elect, quote, will use the full might of the United States Special Operations to take them out. Michael Waltz picked to be the next national security advisor last year introduced a congressional resolution to give Slow Biden permission to use military force to tackle cartel smuggling fentanyl into the U.S. But while the U.S. Special Forces are considered among the world's premier war machines, a report by the Cato Institute said the Mexican cartels might now be an equal match. How can they be an equal match? Oh, maybe because they're getting a hold of U.S. military grade weapons. Maybe because the Mexican army's now being compromised by many of these cartels getting paid off and corrupted. The numbers is there. And you're saying you want to come in and invade? They're not going to fight it on U.S. soil. They got to go over and cross the border to go fight them. And we see America's reputation every time that they go on land to go fight against a foreign quote unquote enemy. They end up getting their butts kicked. Look at Vietnam. Look at Afghanistan. Anytime they try to go into another people's land and try to impose their will, guerrilla warfare tactics and the whole nine kicks in, and America ends up getting stomped out and got to retreat. They're not going to be able to launch heavy bombs and destroy areas of Mexico. Come on. That's why they're saying they ain't gonna work. But the Trump says he's ready to go to war. We'll see. Mysterious lights over Capitol Hill causes UFO panic in DC. It is already happening. This is another phenomenon that's been floating around in media circles heavy about everybody, the sightings of the quote unquote UFOs or the AEU, what is it? I'm not aerial identified phenomenon or something, whatever they call them now. Look at this. This is over the state capitol. You see the lights. See one disappear. Come back. And he's moving. Now, granted, everything we see in the heavens isn't a chariot, but we can't deny the fact that these chariots are real, exist, and they're biblical, right? I'll double back and do a lesson on the chariots. But for now, Esau is creating complete panic and alarm because they're not here for them. The chariots is not here for them. That's the ones that's going to be assisting in destroying this place and rendering judgment on the earth. And ironically, they're going to the head of the snake in DC to be seen at a time when multiple wars is jumping off, famine, plague, pestilence, earthquakes, you name it, and the children of Israel are waking up at a rapid pace. All of these particular sightings now are being documented. Now, of course, some is disinformation. The white man's gonna throw some misdirection. Oh yeah, we've got aliens, held down over in what's the spot over there in New Mexico? Roswell. Yeah, we've got information that we've down one of the UFOs, and we've got it under wraps over here in top secret lab. Yeah, there's been sightings of 8-foot, skinny, big head, bubble-eyed creatures in Vegas and in Florida. Of course they're gonna keep throwing out all this foolishness, but we know the real, and so do they. Last one for everybody. Look, you already know. Last week we seen multiple recalls on food, from salads to burgers to tacos to Fiji water, amongst others. Massive recalls on food, tampering. Now Costco's issuing a warning: 10,000 products are recalled over salmonella fears. I mean, if there's not an attack on the food supply, I don't know what is. We've seen multiple reports over the past few years of all of the food production plants catching fire. Bird flu, multiple cattle dying in by the hundreds, listeria within the what was it? What's the name of that company? Boar's Head with the lunch meat and everything else. I mean, and that was just one case. There was multiple other cases with listeria fears jumping off. Costco have an issue with the eggs. Costco was issued a warning after eggs were recalled in 5 states across the country over potential salmonella contamination. On November 27, Hanson Brook Farms issued a recall notice of 10,800 units of organic pasture-raised 24-count eggs sold under the Kirkland Signature brand name. So, just because it's labeled organic and pasture-raised doesn't mean it's always the best thing going to be good for you. Ideally, it's supposed to be, but we see with the cross-contamination, man, and the bad manufacturing that practices is jumping off, it can touch anything. So if you got these particular brand, for my Costco heads out there, if you have Hanson Brook Farms, organic pasture-raised 24-count eggs by Kirkland, it's under the Kirkland brand name. They rebranded it. So when you're buying them from Costco, it's probably going to say Kirkland, organic pasture-raised. That's the rebranding. The shelf, the main brand name is Hanson Brook Farms. They have recalled those eggs for salmonella. Get rid of them, or take them back to Costco. Get your money back. They are no good. They are no good. So we're seeing a mass breakdown of the food supply. You dig what I'm saying? So that's the long and the short of it, y'all. I've been missing a lot of these comments, man. Salaki, y'all. Yeah, I miss a lot of y'all comments, man. Apologies if y'all said anything you couldn't hear me. I'm trying to catch up a little bit. But hey, if I missed you, Shalakia, nothing personal. All right. Just my comment screen wasn't working on my phone for some reason. I seen it over here, but now I'm double back and I'm seeing a lot of comments I missed. But nonetheless, man, Lord willing, man, y'all got some edification, some good information there to go along with the program. Ceasefire deals are signed is on the table. Is there not going to be no World War III now? I mean, has the Israelites just been fear mongering? And I think we know better now. All right. So all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, man. Y'all have a blessed rest of your Shabbat, man. We got the new moon coming up this evening. It's going to be a back-to-back Shabbat for those of us who keep our new moon this evening. Prayerfully, man, y'all have a blessed one. We'll have a lesson at 4 o'clock. It's going to be premiering as well because we had a couple of scoffers last week with the lesson Aladad did regarding Paul and the Gentiles. And of course, the Christians, these guys don't know what they're talking about, and the Gentiles weren't Israelites. So in the continuation of that, Brother Thom is going to be covering the diaspora and identifying and seeing how the Israelites were and are the Gentiles made mention of in the New Testament and beyond in many instances. Not in every, but in many. All right. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. All right. Prayerfully, y'all be well, take care, and enjoy your new moon, Shabbat celebration, and see y'all in the very near future. All right. So with that, I'm going to get up out of here. Shalom.